Hong Kong. A newspaper controlled by the Communist Party of China criticized the United States for its high level of gun violence, calling it hypocritical that a country that condemns others over human rights violations is failing to stem such slaughter at home. The opinion column in the Global Times, which is run by the Communist Party's People's Daily Group, said that after a gunman killed 17 people last week at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, FLA, the United States should look to China, which has strict controls on guns. It's inhumane for the U.S., which boasts about its human rights record, to turn a blind eye to gun violence, snub increasing calls for gun control and risk more innocent lives, the piece said. The column on guns appeared Friday in the English-language edition of the newspaper, but not in the Chinese print version. While the Global Times is controlled by the Communist Party, it is not an authoritative voice, meaning its pugnacious opinion pieces don't necessarily reflect the views of the Chinese government in the way a commentary in the People's Daily would. Still, the view that guns are a human rights issue in the United States is regularly stated by official sources in China. China's annual report on human rights in the United States, which it issues in response to the State Department's reports on China's human rights situation, usually mentions gun violence. In 2016, the U.S. government exercised no effective control over guns, law enforcement departments abused their power, and crimes were not effectively contained, said the most recent report on human rights in the United States from China's State Council Information Office. As a result, civil rights, especially the right to life, were seriously threatened and people's personal rights were continuously infringed upon. The Global Times regularly covers gun violence in the United States, publishing a commentary after the deadly shootings at a church in Texas in November and a lengthy analysis after the Orlando, FLA, nightclub killings in 2016. Gun ownership in China is strictly regulated, which helps reduce gun-related crimes and deaths, the latest commentary said. The U.S. should learn from China and genuinely protect human rights. While China has tight controls on firearms and gun crimes are rare, shootings with illegal firearms do sometimes happen. Knives are the most common weapon used in attacks, leaving unarmed people better able to defend themselves. On February 11, a man with a knife attacked shoppers at a Beijing mall, killing one person and injuring 12 others. Some shoppers and one security guard were seen fending off the assailant with stools and chairs. Terrorist attacks on civilians have sometimes been carried out in China by groups armed with knives, including an attack on a train station in Kunming that killed 31 people in 2014. The killings at Stoneman Douglas High School occurred just as China prepared to celebrate the Lunar New Year, and as a result weren't widely covered or discussed by the Chinese news media. Some Chinese outlets, including the overseas edition of the People's Daily, did make note of the death of Peter Wang, a Chinese-American student who was credited with holding open a door to help students flee as the attacker fired. Mr. Wang, 15, was born in Brooklyn and spent some of his childhood in China, friends and family told the Miami Herald. He was a junior reserve officers training corps cadet who dreamed of one day attending the United States Military Academy at West Point. The Academy issued him a ceremonial letter of acceptance, saying his actions showed commitment to duty, honor and country.